and you let go what is after it. Akhir means what is after in the literal sense. Akhirah can mean the hereafter, but وَتَذَرُونَ الْآخِرَةِ, and you let go what is after it. Why does a human being who's been loyal to his wife for so long end up cheating his wife? Because, you know, there are two parts of the human psyche. There is a part of us that tells us, you need to do this for the long term. Like, there's a part of you that says, I need to study for my exam. I need to study now so I do good in my exam. But another part of you says, oh, but right now I feel like hanging out with my friends. By the way, this is a totally side thing. Do you know why human beings procrastinate? What's the real reason we procrastinate? When you study for your exams, for example, why do you really procrastinate? One of the main reasons, there are many psychological reasons for procrastinating, but the main reason is because you like the rush. To do it at the last moment creates a certain rush that you have to now study, and it creates the adrenaline that makes you do that study. That's the power of the here and the now. The adrenaline that's, you know, some people, anyway, that was about procrastination. It has nothing to do with the lecture, per se. But I thought it would be an interesting thing to say. But I want you to consider how many of you people procrastinate, not because you're lazy, but because actually you like that adrenaline pumping at the last moment. At the end, you just never realized that until I just said it. What I am trying to say is that there are two voices within human beings. There's a voice, you know, have you ever seen that cartoon where they have a devil on one side and the angel on the other side? Two different voices? Completely wrong. That's not what happens. The Quranic picture is much more correct. There are two voices. One voice tells you, do this now. I want to do this now. And then one voice says, this is what you really need to do for the long term. If voice says to you that you need to study every day, another voice says, hey, but why don't you go play with your friends? Okay. A voice says to you, you have a loving, beautiful wife at home, there's no reason to cheat. Another voice says, but this is such a different situation. I'm in this, you know, it's a situation. And one of the reasons of the Sharia, the rules of Islam, is that you never put yourself in a situation where the here and the now impetus within yourself ever is being able will overcome you than your long-term thinking of tazarun al-akhirah. Somebody is gambling, made a lot of money, worked hard. A voice within him says, you can't just gamble all this money away, it's wrong. Another of it says, but what if I win more? Right? What if I win more? And so the context you're in, so there are two voices. There's a long-term voice and the what? And the here voice. And all of your students experience this when you have to do, you have to choose between, you know, studying or doing your homework or doing something that you really know you should and don't want to do versus, you know, having fun. Now, how does this verse of the Quran relate to my previous point, the first point, and this point? In both instances, the focus is on the here and the now. And the focus is on the immediate. Both at the philosophical level, which I talked about modernity and postmodernity, as well as at the psychological level of how that affects us in terms of the voice of the here and the now versus the long-term thoughts that you need to have. Am I making sense to all of you yet? Yeah. Have I lost any of you? No. Okay. Okay, this is what we're going to do now. I don't know if this will work. Let's try to make this work, okay? We're going to read the writings of a professor. Now, I want one of you to read it out loud, and maybe you can ask them to read it individually, paragraph by paragraph, okay? So I will choose one person, maybe you, can read the first paragraph out loud. Now, if I find that this is like going over your heads, then we'll just stop. But I think you'll be able to eventually catch on.
You guys all hear me? Yes? Okay. Without doubt, the most cherished myth of our times is that...
Stop right there. Okay. So, why is it a myth? Why is this a myth? Because if there is a God, and if there is divine, then the divine is telling you who man is, right? But if there's no divine, then who's telling man who man is? But man himself. Right? Okay, so myth in the sense that man has created this myth about himself is what he means. Go ahead.
The most cherished myth of our times is that man makes himself, that he is the outcome of an evolutionary process which regulates itself by the circular logic of survival. Man lives because he outlives himself, because he survives his extinction and outsmarts his doom. And yet, such priceless reasoning...
After all, consider it. I was a microscopic organism at one time. Okay? And I outsmarted everyone and I became a giraffe. And then after that I became an ape. And now I'm a human being. So, I mean, that's a lot of good luck on your side. Go ahead.
And yet, such priceless reasoning does not exhaust itself by this claim. The biological tale of man's triumph on earth, it is contended further.
By the way, not to say that Islam is against the process of evolution. The Quran is not against evolution. But it also doesn't answer the entire question, is the real issue. Continue, please.
It is contended further, merely reenacts the cosmological drama that reveals the ultimate mystery about the origin of the universe. A chance hiccup in the tranquility of being, so it is posited, produced a Big Bang in the cosmic nothingness and created everything.
You all know about the Big Bang, right? So there was this hiccup. And what we mean by hiccup, it was an accident. There was this Big Bang, and then here we are. Go ahead.
Time, matter.
This is a story that we have created. Sorry. So, see, the thing is, I was explaining this to the brother the other day. This is very important. Ultimately, we are human beings. And we need a meta-narrative. We need a story. And science gave us that story. The story is there was a Big Bang and then there was evolution and here we are. That's a story. Another story is there was Adam and Eve and they were in paradise and they, and then they came to earth and here we are. There are two different what? Stories. Human beings are about competing stories. It's not about what is... the thing that captures the human being's minds is going to be the one that has the better story. It's simple as that. Go ahead.
Sure. Time, matter, energy, life, consciousness, morality. The universe is thus devoid of any goal, meaning, and purpose, save that created by man. Man's humanity, his morality, art, and science are nothing but gifts of the biological struggle, chance benefits of man's effort and genius. For his genesis and existence, therefore, man need be grateful to no one but himself, because it is man, not God, who is the creator of man's humanity.
Continue, please.
Sure. Were this merely a symptom of the metaphysical despair that followed in the wake of man's enlightenment in the age of humanism, one could have endured it with
greatness.
With greatness. However, the modern discovery of the origin of the universe and evolution of life on Earth does not remain confined to labs and academies. It is no longer a biological theory or a scientific dogma, but has acquired the mystique and power of a cultural myth. It even arbitrates the...
Do you get what he's trying to say? These are no longer scientific facts, but this has now become a story that we believe in. Okay? Go ahead.
It even arbitrates the ineluctably human question of the nature and destiny of man. Man, the modern sage triumphantly proclaims, is the source of his own transcendence. He is not only the measure of everything, but is the creator of norms and values as well. Little wonder that we are facing a crisis of meaning, the like of which we have never known before. Meaning,
man is looking for meaningfulness. And maybe I will talk about this a little bit later. That's a whole session in itself. But human beings desire to have meaning, right? I mean, you will feel meaningless if there's no purpose in life. If there's no purpose in life, you have to create purpose in life. That's just human nature. So, in a meaningless world where there's no God, no hereafter, no salvation, no ultimate truth, man is ultimately living a very empty life. And so therefore, therefore the drugs and the depression and all the other things that are going on. Go ahead.
For nothing can be more fertile, a metaphysical ground for immoral or cognitive nihilism than the claim of man's being a creature of man, of man's humanity being a gift of biology, and of man's history being a story of divine self-fulfillment. The incoherence of the man-made man is staggering.
Because when you say man-made man, by making this story and everything, you lose all meaningfulness. You get it? You lose all meaningfulness. Unless there's someone else like God out there that says, okay, man is special. But if man says he's special to himself, it has no value. Continue.
Man makes laws and voluntarily submits to them. Man is dissatisfied with his laws and defies them with impunity.
So, for example, we had slavery. It was okay in this country. And now we don't have slavery, and it's not okay in this country. We didn't have gay marriages. Now we have gay marriages. I mean, we make rules, we break rules according to trends and norms of society. There's nothing absolute, nothing really true. Everything is meaninglessness. Nothing has any meaning. Go ahead.
He smashes old idols and creates new ones. He scoffs every authority but willingly submits to his own whim. There is no categorical imperative, only the contingent logic of survival. No inner drive of the soul, only the external compulsion of raison d'etat. Indeed, there is no moral man submissive to truth, only the amoral superman, worshipping power. Freedom, compassion, and love are mere empty words, and so are justice, fairness, and equality. Brotherhood and sisterhood are non-existent, and the human community is a sham. Facts are real and given, while values are illusory and imposed.
Just say illusionary.
Illusionary.
And imposed.
While values are non-existent and imposed, what counts in the end is the realization of the will and not any triumph or reason or truth.
Now just read the last sentence of the next paragraph only. Paradoxically, the roots of the modern delusion go back to the mythos of faith itself. Meaning, this is the interesting part. In order for man, no matter what, man still had to create this story, right, of the Big Bang and the evolution and so on and so forth. Now, why am I talking about this? Can anybody figure out why I'm talking about this? And how this is important to us as Muslims, sitting here as a people of faith, talking about this change in history that's occurred, where man said basically we don't need God, we don't need religion, we don't need faith. And by the way, just as a side point again, you've all heard of the term relative, right? Everything is relative. You've heard of the term, right? Good and bad are relative. You've heard of the term, right? What has happened as a result of this is that the idea of everything being relative has also become itself an absolute abstract idea, in the sense that you're absolute in your saying that everything is absolutely relative. Do you see what I'm trying to say? Do you see what I'm trying to say? The people that say to everything, well, it's relative, are absolute in their saying that it is what? That it's relative. Meaning the idea of things being relative is also very what? Absolute. For the people that say that it is, it's relative. Are you with me or you're not with me? Yes? No? If you're not with me, raise your hands. Okay. If I say to you, look, morality teaches us that we should be loyal to our wives. Somebody will say, it's relative. Right? Is there a God? It's relative. When your answer to everything is, it's relative, you are posing as being open-minded. But yet you are absolute in your saying what? That it is relative. Saying that it is relative necessarily and absolutely is itself a radical form of thinking, in the sense that you're saying everything has to be relative. Because one of the problems of this time is, in a world where there's no absolutes, there is no God, there's no absolute morality, you know, there's no absolute answers. In this world of no absolutes, everything is what? Absolutely relative. And in being absolute relative, it is still absolute. How can you do that in sign language? It must be very hard. Okay, so, did I say anything meaningful to any of you yet? Yes? No? Okay. How much time do I have? Oh, okay, I got a little bit of time. Actually, now I'm going to come to the subject that I wanted in terms of the mind frame of the postmodern child. See, and let me just explain something very interesting to you. In this age, you've all seen Chris Rock? Have you heard, have you seen Comedy Central?
Yeah.
See, one of the highest suicide rates is in the profession of comedians. Anybody know that? Why this culture of laughter? This culture where you can make fun of anything and everything is actually a result of cynicism, of meaninglessness. Do you see what I just said? What did I just say? In a culture of meaninglessness, in a culture where nothing has anything meaning, no meaning, in a culture where nothing has any definite meaning, all you can do is think like a cynic and make fun of it. Did you get what I was trying to say? In a world, let me say this again, because just go with me slowly. In a world where nothing has any meaning, there's nothing serious, right? In a world where nothing has any meaning, what else can you do but entertain yourself constantly by mocking everything around you? I'm not saying to laugh is bad. There are chapters in Hadith on mazha, on smiling and laughter. But it is when this becomes the predominant sense of entertainment, a predominant sense of just mocking anything and everything. Nothing is sacred. Nothing is sacred. Everything is meaningless. It has no meaning. Then all you can do is just laugh and make fun of it. Make fun of God. Make fun of morals and values and your car and your horse and your dog and family life and married life, and just make fun of it all because it has no meaning. All you can do is make fun of all of this. And this is the level of cynicism that we've reached at a cultural level. I hope you're able to relate to what I'm saying. Are you able to understand what I'm saying? Yes or no? Okay, so if you do understand what I'm saying, then very quickly, brother, can you tell me what I'm saying? Oh, go ahead.
Well,
or if you want, I can give it to somebody else. It's fine.
it's not like.
Who would like to rephrase what I'm saying in their own words? You would? Okay, give him the microphone.
Pretty much what you're saying is that when you make fun of everything, you lose value for it. And
Not that you lose, but when you, to begin with, have no value for it. The only thing you can do is to mock it, right? Just mock anything and everything. And so, because when we have meaningless in our lives, the only thing we can do to replace that meaningfulness is to replace it by a bunch of entertainment and sensationalism. Since there is no ultimate meaning in the long term, all you can do is entertain yourself in the here and the now. And so you as a Muslim need to realize that if you're always in a state of entertainment, if you're always looking for entertainment, then that seriousness of meaningfulness has not reached you yet. There's still something missing in your conviction, in your belief, in a worldview that's very serious. In a worldview that says there's God and you're answerable to God, there's a day of judgment, every good deed you do is accounted for, every bad deed you... It's a very serious way of looking at the world. But yet, if you are constantly in a state of wanting entertainment, then that shows that that cynicism, that meaninglessness still exists within you to some degree. Am I clear? Okay, so what did I just say? I want some sister to tell me what I just said. The sister in the red jacket. Can you repeat what I just said about us as Muslims and our serious way of looking at the world, but yet if we're always reacting with entertainment?
I guess what I understood is that if, as Muslims, what you're saying is that we do see the world in a from like a sort of serious point of view where a lot of things do have meaning. So, I mean, what you said before is that when things don't have meaning, we're able to make fun of them easily. So if, as Muslims, if we believe that things...
If we're engaged in constant entertainment...
Yeah, then that means that we haven't gotten that strength of conviction. Right.
See, in Surah Al-Mu'minun, what does Allah say? قَدْ أَفْلَحَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ. The believers have already succeeded. الَّذِينَ هُمْ فِي صَلَاتِهِمْ خَاشِعُونَ. Those that are humble in their prayers. Then what? وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ عَنِ اللَّغْوِ مُعْرِضُونَ. Those that stay away from useless things. Because if you believe in what Islam is saying, you will be a serious person. But if you are always engaged in useless things, entertainment, always entertainment, not that entertainment itself is haram, of course not. But it is the impulsive need, the urge, like a drug for entertainment, that's the problem. Okay, now, let me go on to my next point. Is anyone bored yet? A little bit? Okay. Now, let me talk about the other crisis of the postmodern world. And I'll end with this, and the next lecture that I give, I will continue actually from right here because it's related to this. One of the problems, now I talked about comedy, but one of the crises, particularly in the Muslim world, because we come from a tradition of adab, of etiquettes and manners. Etiquette and manners is what it means. We come from a tradition of etiquettes and manners. There's a certain way to act with your mother, there's a certain way to act with your father, there's a certain respect you give to the teachers, so on and so forth. One of the attributes of the modern world and the postmodern world is that we have this true assumption from an Islamic point of view. It's a true assumption. The true assumption is that all human beings are what? All human beings are equal. But the application is not as such. What do I mean? The application is, if I am, and this is in the postmodern, modern world way of looking, if I and you are equal, you're my teacher, then me and you are equal. Me and my teacher are equal. Husband and wife are what? Equal. One of the problems of this postmodern and modern world is any top-down relationship is looked at negatively. The government and the citizens, negative relationship. A cop and a citizen, negative. A parent and a child, a teacher and a student. Whereas if you go back to the pre-modern age, top-down relationships were looked at as positively. There is the master and the apprentice, right? It's not how you look at the employer and employee relationship. Employer-employee relationship is seen as two opposites trying to fight each other for who gets more rights. Does the employer get more rights or the employee get more rights? Does the parents get more rights or the child get more rights? Does the government get more rights or the citizen get more rights? As opposing factors. Rather, in the pre-modern world, it was not seen as opposing factors, but they were seen as complementary factors in the pre-modern times. The reason I'm mentioning this is that, of course, in Islam, everyone is what? Everyone is? Equal, but not equal in relationships. We are not equal in what? Relationships. Parent and child are not equal in their relationship of being a parent and a child. A student and a teacher are not equal in their relationship of being a student, and by birth, as human beings, as fundamentally as human beings, they're equal. One of the things that has happened is that now, like for example in public schools, you have a teacher, you call the teacher, instead of some, let's say, honorary term, you say Mrs. Brown by her name. Even many kids in this country, they call their parents by their name. And in Islam, we would see that as somewhat as a little bit offensive in terms of etiquettes to the parents. So, one of the attributes of the age of modernity is that by seeing everyone as equal, we even superimpose that even on relationships. Even in relationships, we think everyone has to be what? Equal. And what we say as Muslims is not in relationships. Relationships has to have etiquettes. And so here you are in a world that says, hey, if you respect me, I'll respect you because we're equal. Regardless of who you are, regardless of your position. If you're my parent and you're not respecting me, then I don't have to respect you. If you're my teacher and you're not respecting me, I don't have to respect you. Because we're equal. Islamically, this is in opposition to Islam or Islamic teachings in the sense that when there is a top-down relationship, we have to be respectful regardless of who has transgressed the other. One of the